and that's Justin. He is my co-host. Today we're going to be kind of going over kind of the Big Ten versus SEC debate constantly that's going on. It probably will go into who's better, but we're going to try to avoid that for the most part. We're more importantly going to try to maybe steer some people from that debate. We're also going to talk about Notre Dame. We went over all the conferences. We went over who we think is going to be good. We didn't really crap on
Did we,
anybody per
Mason,
se.
did we leave Notre Dame out of our conference debates? What conference are they in that we forgot to talk about them?
That would be the NBC Peacock conference, I guess. I don't.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
But yeah, so we went over everyone in every conference. Well, not everyone in every conference. We went over every conference, and we kind of talked about who we thought our big dogs were going to be in each one, and maybe some surprise teams. And unfortunately, Notre Dame's not in a conference. We're going to kind of talk about that too, how that might be affected in the future with all this playoff talk. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the 2025 season and their schedule, kind of what they're expecting. So let's get into that. Justin, what do you kind of got as far as maybe some big players returning, or even maybe a quarterback who, from everything I'm hearing, he might be the best passer Marcus Freeman has had?
Yeah, I think Notre Dame, like, they're kind of weird because, like, at the beginning of the season, nobody thought they were going to make it to the national championship because they lost to, I mean,
NIU.
what? Yeah, this year they lost to another team they weren't supposed to lose to. Marcus Freeman was not supposed to be there, but they beat Texas A&M, and then like they kind of had one of those weird up and down years. And then you look at the end of the season, you're like, oh crap, Notre Dame's making the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
They lost some pieces, but they didn't really lose like a terrible amount. They're kind of in that Penn State realm where it's like they had a good season last year, but I think they, I don't want to say this, like they over exceeded expectations and they kind of got hot at the right time, if that makes sense. And they had certain scenarios that kind of worked in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if Georgia and Notre Dame would have played on the actual date that they were supposed to play on, would Georgia have won? I mean, you don't ever know because both teams are affected, but it kind of felt like Notre Dame was like they did way more than they were ever supposed to. Every week, you're like, oh, Notre Dame's going to lose to X team, and then they won. Notre Dame's going to lose to Georgia, and then they won. And then, like, it finally got to the national championship, and I just think they faced the buzz saw of Ohio State. I'm not just saying that because that's my team. Like, they just kind of Ohio State was on a different level, but I know they're bringing back. Shouldn't say bringing back. This kid's never started. C.J. Carr. He was a top prospect, top recruit. He's a redshirt freshman, so he's very. I like to call him green behind the ears, wet behind the ears, whatever you want to say. Has no experience at all, but everything coming out of spring camp, like this dude can sling it. Up there with the DJ Lagways and the no Lenore Sellers and those type of guys. It's just this guy didn't start last year, so nobody really knows who he is. They're returning a lot on the defensive side of the ball as well. I mean, they have a corner. I don't really know what is. I think it's Leonard Moore, maybe. I didn't keep up with a lot of Notre Dame, but they had really good defensive backs last year that got a lot of starting time because if you remember, they had really good guys that got hurt towards the end of the season. So they had to throw some freshmen and sophomores that weren't originally starting into the fire to start. So they have them on the defensive side, and they're bringing back a lot of they're kind of another one of those good teams that hit the transfer portal, brought in like 4 or 5 guys on the defensive side, maybe 3 or 4 on the offensive side, but mainly they got that main nucleus of juniors and seniors coming back that can really keep that program in that traditional state. Like, hey, Marcus Freeman's been here for 3 years. This is how he runs his program. This is how we're going to operate in the program instead of operating kind of like that Florida State where it's like, yeah, I mean, you like to say it a lot, that kind of nuke in the microwave. Let's see if we can bring in all these pieces and it work.
Yeah.
The main player that I'm most excited for, and I think everybody's most excited for on that team, is Jeremiah Love. I mean, that dude's an absolute freak. He's up there with, I mean, he he could be the best running back in college football because Penn State's running back split time. He doesn't really split time I mean, he has a guy behind him that's a redshirt junior, and I mean, but you don't know his name like you know the two backs at Penn State. So I don't think he's really going to have any issue. Their offensive line looks okay. I think the main thing that's going to help out their quarterback Carr and just kind of open up that offense is they brought in that new offensive coordinator. That new offensive coordinator came from LSU when what's his name? CJ, what's his name? Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Jane Daniels. There you go. Sorry. When Jane Daniels was there, and if you remember that, I mean, that dude was an absolute. I mean,
He won the
it wasn't
Heisman.
he was a freaky player because he's still doing it in Washington. But the way that they ran their offense and the way that they did things, it just kind of seems like he's a very savant guy when it comes to offensive scheming and working around that quarterback where you're not forcing the quarterback to make the ball go down the field. You're kind of allowing the quarterback to be comfortable and play his games.
And I think a big thing with Notre Dame last year was their offensive line was young, and we thought that was kind of going to be a weakness, and it showed up at times early. But as the season went on, those guys got a lot better, and they're returning a lot of those guys. With Jeremiah Love, it's going to help out that young quarterback. They're returning some receivers. I saw Jaden Greathouse. I don't really know much about him, but it was a notable guy that was listed. Everything that I'm hearing from Josh Pate mainly is who I listen to. He said that it's going to be the best passing offense that Marcus Freeman has had, and if you really look at Marcus Freeman's tenure here at Notre Dame, it's been like Sam Hartman, who was a pretty all right quarterback, and then Riley Leonard was okay, but mainly with his legs, and so this could add another element to Notre Dame's team. But like looking at their schedule last year, after that, okay, so they played Texas A&M, and then they lost that game to Northern Illinois. They played a crappy Purdue team. They beat Miami of Ohio. Louisville was up and down last year. They played Louisville, and then Georgia Tech was okay. Army was, I think, overhyped. USC won 7 games. So I think to an extent that early loss didn't hurt them that bad because like the SEC, everyone can agree they were down last year, so you didn't have another at-large team to really challenge them. And I couldn't believe that Notre Dame was just a shoe-in, though. But I think looking forward to their schedule this year, it's similar in a sense of like, you know, they got big dogs, and then they also have their fair share of like teams that aren't as good. But it's definitely more top-heavy this year. They go to
Yeah.
Miami week 1. They host A&M. Then they get that game against crappy Purdue. Then they go to Arkansas, host Boise. Who knows what Boise's going to be?
Hey
Um,
man, don't hey Boise State now. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean,
uh, of
uh,
course, they play that game against USC. Navy, who knows? Syracuse, maybe. But, like, the back half of their schedule is a lot of Power 4 schools, but it's not power schools.
and the weird thing about their schedule, I I want to say this without just being disrespectful to teams. Arguably, their two hardest games are the first 2 games of the season,
Mhm.
and then they play. Sorry,
I
Mason.
mean,
They play 3 cupcake games.
well, if USC is improved, then they do have a big game at the end of the year. But you're right.
Yeah, but
Like, they don't
that
have anything in between. I don't think A&M is going to be spectacular. I think A&M is going to improve, but I don't I don't think Notre Dame is going to lose that game. Um, but so between A&M and USC, it's nothing but winnable games for them. It's nothing but
yeah,
winnable.
I don't see like it's going to be another one of those years where Notre Dame goes 11-0, 12-0, and but you're still not going to know anything about them.
Yeah, and you say 12-0, but last year they lost at home to NIU. So
Yeah.
I don't
Hey,
know.
you know what?
It's a team
You-
I just don't know what to expect from. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
what I mean.
I
Like
know
they're
what they're going to be good at, but whenever they get to December, like I feel like they're going to have more questions to answer because of you wouldn't have seen them play a huge game since September. That USC game will be really important. I think USC is going to improve. So we'll probably know a little bit more about them than we did last year. But this is my question really about Notre Dame is so they don't necessarily have an NIU. They do have Purdue, who's atrocious.
And somebody else right after Purdue.
They play Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas is near as bad as Purdue.
No, you're not.
NIU.
I'm just like trolling you.
So I mean, and it's on the road. So even if Notre Dame, let's say Notre Dame does lose to Arkansas, but they win the rest of their games, like is this schedule up enough for them to be an unquestioned playoff team like they were last year? I mean, last year they lost to NIU and then they were unquestioned. No one was blinking at Notre Dame being in, and they lost a home game to a MAC team.
I mean, I think it's going to be the same way, honestly. They can lose one game, and as long as they look like they did at the end of the season last year, which the end of the season last year before the bowl games, I'll just go from the first week in November. They beat Florida State 52-3, not that crazy of a win. They beat Virginia 35-14, beat Army 49-14, and then beat USC 49-35. So if they end their season off like that, yeah, they could probably lose to Boise State or Arkansas or Purdue at the beginning of the season, and everybody's just going to forget about it.
Mm-hmm. And
if you want me to be 1,000% honest with you.
Yeah. Well, and okay, and this kind of goes into, we talked about it last week, but we're in June, so we can talk about things a million times. It doesn't matter. So with this playoff model that everyone's talking about, right now it's Big Ten wants the automatic qualifier, SEC wants the 5+11. 5+11, this doesn't affect Notre Dame in any way. But if it goes to the 4-4, 2-2, 1-1, whatever, the automatic qualifier is what I'm talking about. Does that force Notre Dame into a conference? Because then you can't afford to lose that game. If you have one automatic qualifier spot.
Yeah.
I mean, Notre Dame can't lose to NIU. Notre Dame can't lose to Arkansas. Notre Dame really can't lose to A&M or Miami or USC. I mean, because you're gonna at that point. Let's say I don't know how to project USC. I'll give that USC. I don't know how to project them 5 years from now, but let's say USC stays on the 7-5, 8-4, maybe on their good year they win 9 games. Let's say they stay on that path, but they beat Notre Dame. Well, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3. That's good for 5th, 6th, 7th in the Big Ten. Are you really going to put in Notre Dame over a Big Ten team whenever the 5th, 6th, 7th best Big Ten team beat them? Or I mean, even in worst case scenario, you lose to NIU. I mean, are you really going to put in Notre Dame over one of those whenever you only have one at-large bid?
Yeah, I think. Man, it's hard. I think they're going to have to join a conference. Kind of like what you said. And I have my opinion on what conference what conference should they join? They should join the ACC or the Big Ten. They're definitely not joining the Big Ten. They're just not. I think the path to get to a playoff for Notre Dame in the Big Ten is harder. Just because Ohio State's better than Notre Dame. Most years, year in and year out, they're better. Penn State's usually better. Oregon's usually better. And, I mean, then you throw in that 4th team, Illinois, Iowa. I mean, Nebraska's coming on. Michigan, if they're not dealing with all the stuff they're dealing with. So it's harder for them to get in there. The ACC, I don't think the ACC can pay them enough to come over there. And I think if Notre Dame goes to a conference, they want to go into that conference and know they're the top dog. Know that at the end of the day, it's kind of like Clemson and the ACC. Year in and year out, Clemson might not win every year, but most years, if you say who's the ACC champ at the end of the year, you're probably putting your money on Clemson. The conference I think they're going to join is the Big 12. Personally, that's just me. It's going to open up their South recruiting in the Texas and Fort Worth area, kind of get them out west a little bit more than they have been. I mean, and at the end of the day, I don't know why. I don't really hate them as much. I don't know why. But, me being an Ohio State fan, a lot of people do hate Ohio State. Mm-hmm. But so many people hate Notre Dame. And I really don't get, I understand it, but at the end of the day, if you sit back and think about it, I don't. I can't sit here and tell you why so many people hate Notre Dame, and it's like, I mean, maybe because they're not joining a conference, but you got to understand, like, if it was your team, would you join a conference? No. So it's like, why do so many people hate them for one, and for two, like, I feel like if they go down, like they are a national program, is what I'm kind of getting to. Like they're a blue blood. They have so many movies about, movies about them, TV shows about them, everything that goes around Notre Dame. Like they're up there with your Alabamas, Georgias, Ohio States, Michigans. Like no matter where they go, it's going to be a story. I mean, they've been able to last as long as they have independently and still make it to college football playoffs and bowl games and all these things. So it's one of those things to where I think they're going to join the Big 12 personally if they do join a conference. Now they might not have to, but if they do join one, I think it's the best move for them, and I could just see them joining the Big 12 honestly.
Well, and to that point, there is some merit to that because the Big 12 is going to be shopping. We've seen the Big 12; they've been the most active outside of the Big 10 and SEC as far as going after members. They went and got Arizona, Arizona State, UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, um, and while all that's good, none of those teams are Notre Dame. None of
No.
those brands are Notre Dame. So that would make sense, but they do play basketball with the ACC. I'm pretty sure they play baseball with the SEC. Whenever the COVID year happened, they went to the ACC. So I don't think it's out of the realm for either one of those conferences to get them, and it would boost the ACC a lot too. Um, Notre Dame has so much popularity. They have their own TV deal with Peacock or NBC or whoever. Now Peacock and NBC have started showing Big Ten games, but prior to that, it was just Notre Dame on Saturdays, Notre Dame home games.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they probably have the biggest. I don't know if they're the biggest fan base, but they got one of the bigger fan bases. And I
Well,
think a
and
lot of
another thing you got to think about too. So a lot of people don't know, like um when Ohio State won the national championship, their money got divided in between that whole conference.
yeah,
You know who's Notre Dame got divided with? Absolutely nobody. They got to keep all that money for going to the national championship to themselves. So it's like at this point, like if you're making it like you're making it,
why
why?
would you?
Why
Yeah.
would you join? Now, I think if push came to shove and they had to join, they would join one. But like, so many people hate on them for not joining. It's like, would you? Like, it
Well,
kind of
no,
goes into the whole thing with the SEC picking up that extra conference game. Why?
yeah, like I wouldn't if I was Notre Dame. Notre Dame gets to front load their schedule. They also get to schedule teams that have less resources but maybe hype. Like they get to
Yeah,
schedule Arkansas, who is in the SEC, and that looks good. Miami lost. I mean, I know Miami and Notre Dame's a rivalry, but I think Notre Dame has less question marks around their team than Miami. And then after that Miami Texas A&M, they don't play another huge game where they're going to be even close to like an underdog until USC maybe, and that depends on how USC is. I expect USC to be better, but like they're able to do that with their schedule and essentially guarantee them a spot. And but also, I do think they're a good team. I think last year proved a lot of the uh, Notre Dame doubters. Proved them wrong because a big thing with Notre Dame in the past has been they win all these games with this cake schedule, and then they get to the BCS or they get to the 14 playoff and they get skull drugged by Clemson or Alabama or Ohio State or whoever. Um, and so last year they make this playoff. Yeah, they played Indiana and they beat Indiana. Who did they play next? I can't even remember who they played in
they
this.
played Indiana, Penn State.
They played. I thought that Penn State game came after. Yeah, Penn State beat SMU and Boise, so it had to be the next week. I don't remember who. Oh,
Was
Georgia.
it?
They
It was.
beat Georgia. They
Yeah,
beat Georgia.
it was Georgia and then Penn State.
Yeah. So they won two games essentially that to me meant a lot. And I've said it on this podcast. I've said it to my friends. I've said it to you, Justin, specifically on the phone. I think that Notre Dame letting Brian Kelly walk, go to the Bayou, and
Yep.
hiring Marcus Freeman was the best coaching hire of this like 2020s. Like, I think that was the one of the smartest moves I've seen. It's breathed so much life into that program, and they just
Oh,
have
for sure.
like Notre Dame's intimidating now in a sense. Like I would not want to play Notre Dame. I mean, obviously Arkansas's playing them, but like if I was in Ohio State, like I would not be excited for Notre Dame to be on my schedule. Like I wouldn't.
No, no. I mean, it's definitely a game like it. It would worry me because Ohio State played on my home at home, um, 2 years in a row, obviously, and we got them. I think it was our first game was there, and it was Marcus Freeman's first year, and then his second year it was his second year, and we played them at Ohio State. I would be more scared to play them now than I
Yeah.
was back then, just because like they have that aura about them right now that like they just seem like that tough kind of hybrid between a Big Ten and an SEC team that's just kind of made their own way and built their program about what they wanted to.
Well, and really, who they remind me of, and this is going to be crazy because a lot of people crap on this team too. They remind me of Penn State. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot. Like, Penn State has had this same stigma, and I know Penn State they choked that game to Notre Dame, actually in the playoff. But like, I think that's two teams that are going to be very similar.
Hey, Mason, can I ask you something? And I'll go ahead and let you get this off your chest. I just want to say this when I tell everybody, when I bring this up, I just want everybody to know. Obviously, we've talked about it every show we have. Mason's wearing an Arkansas hat. We're from Arkansas. Right now, there's not anything going on but college baseball.
Yeah.
Here's my question to you, Mason. And anybody that doesn't know, kind of look it up because if you don't know, you'll understand why I asked this question when you look this guy up and kind of hear some stigma about him. How close is James Franklin and Dave Van Horn? Like, how close are they in comparisons?
Brothers from another mother. I don't know. They're one and the same. It feels like. Obviously, I have a college football podcast, not a college baseball podcast, so I'm not exactly the biggest baseball guy. But,
For sure.
Being an Arkansas fan and watching that, it feels like every year it's the same disappointment, and I can almost feel that from James Franklin too. So they're probably the same.
Yeah. And like I said, we're not a baseball podcast. I only watched it because it was the only thing on, so I don't want people to think oh, they're going to do all sports. No, not at all. It's just I feel so bad. And don't get me wrong, I root for Arkansas. I want Arkansas to win, want them to beat everybody by 50 and play Ohio State in the national championship every year and get absolutely waxed off the field. Every single year, I watch compilations, I guess it's called, today of Arkansas sports and just all the heartbreaking things that have happened in the last 5 years. And I just want everybody to know that's watching this that is a diehard Arkansas fan. My heart reaches out for you. I've had bad things happen to me in Ohio State football, the 2019 Clemson game and stuff like that, but it seems like every single year, not just in football, you got football, baseball, basketball. You'll need to just start watching men's and women's track and field, it sounds like, because every single year in your three big main sports, I mean, even in women's softball this year, it's just constant stabs in the guts every single year. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the old Jerry Jones curse, but it just seems like y'all cannot get out of the way of just bad luck and errors, really.
Yeah, we definitely specifically let's just pertain it to football here. We definitely get in our own way more than anyone gets in our way. I'll just say it. In 2022, KJ Jefferson jumps from the 5-yard line, fumbles, A&M returns it. We're top 10 in the country when that happens. After that, I would almost guarantee we have a losing record since. But let's kind of get into this SEC versus Big Ten. So basically, the SEC, I'll just say it. I'll go into it. The SEC wants a 5+11.
That's why they've been pushing for it so hard. We talked
Yes.
about it 2 episodes. They were pushing for it. Nobody really knows why they were pushing for it. Everybody's like, well, it's to get more teams in, but it doesn't really make sense because blah, blah, blah. We're about to tell you why they want it. Just understand, it doesn't matter what level of life you are in. There's always some hidden narratives that people always want to be like, oh, I'm just doing this because. No, no, no. Check the receipts. Look in the fine details because there's some hidden narratives in there. People are trying to get over one on you. Go ahead, Mason. Sorry.
So, as it was first reported, the SEC and the Big Ten were in unison, and when they wanted the automatic qualifiers, that's all you heard about was the SEC wants 4 guaranteed spots, the Big Ten wants 4 guaranteed spots. Well, a report came out that the SEC was like, hold on, we don't actually support that. We don't know what y'all are talking about. Shortly after that report was a report about the playoff committee is going to change the way they select teams and have their rankings based on strength of record and strength of schedule. Um, and that supports a 5+11 model if you're the SEC. If you look at the top 10 schedules in the SEC right now, 9 of them, or top 10 schedules in the entire country, 9 of them are SEC schedules. One of them is a Big Ten schedule, and it's Wisconsin. So that's kind of essentially what they want. They want 6, 7, 8 teams. Um, the Big Ten, I don't even really know what the reaction should be because
I mean, I think
what are you supposed to say? I mean, it makes the most sense. Yes, it makes the most sense for the SEC to want that.
I mean, I understand. How do I want to say this? I understand why the SEC wants it, but at the end of the day, what are they smoking? Like, why? Here is my whole thing, Mason. And I've grown up in Arkansas my whole entire life. I actually lived up in Fayetteville for 3 to 4 years. Um, so I've been in what I'm saying, what I'm getting to is I've been in SEC country my whole entire life. Been a Ohio State fan, but and this will be a tangent we'll get into because we both talked about it extensively. But as I'm an Ohio State fan, I constantly hear people that are Arkansas fans. I want to throw that out there they're Arkansas fans, but they absolutely glaze Georgia and Alabama and like that's my big brother. Go get them. Like we're sitting at home 3-9, but go get them in the national championship. And then when Alabama wins or Georgia wins, they act like Arkansas had a part in that. Hey, we gave them water on the sidelines, so yeah, the SEC won another one. Whoop whoop! It's like, hang on, chill out. And it's every single year you hear, oh, the SEC's the best. It's the best conference. Okay, why are they the best? We don't have too many cross conference. Yeah, exactly. You got the shirt on. We don't have too many cross conference like battles back and forth. We get occasional ones, but it's so hard to tell because like a Texas could play a down a USC school, and it's like, okay, that's not comparable. I will say this. So the main teams that were complaining about not making it to the playoffs last year was so Texas, Georgia, Tennessee made it. They were the top 3 schools. They all made it. Alabama was the first out. They were 9-4. Or 9-3, right? Yeah, 9-3 without their bowl game. South Carolina was next. They were 9-3 without their bowl game. And then you had Texas A&M, which was next. They were 8-4, but they were still 5-3 in conference. So that's why they're next. And then you have LSU, which is 9-3, and then you have Ole Miss, which is 9-3, going into the college football playoffs. Then Alabama lost to who, Mason, in their bowl game? Now, I don't like comparing bowl games, so I don't want people to be like, oh, well, this person sat out, this person sat out. But as a team as a whole, if you really look into it, too, Michigan had more players sit out than Alabama. Pretty much Alabama's whole team played. Anyways, what I'm getting at, Alabama played Michigan in their bowl game. They lost. South Carolina, the next one up, that's supposed to be, hey, we need to get into the playoffs because we deserve it and our schedule's hard. And I love South Carolina. They lost in their bowl game to an Indiana or an Illinois, which are two teams that are very young. Now, if they were both veteran layered teams and they both lost a lot before they played and all that, bull crap, I would be like, yeah, you know what, it is what it is. Those are both two young teams that are very highly sought after this year because they have a lot returning. So South Carolina lost once again to a Big Ten team. Texas A&M, I think, yeah,
USC.
didn't they? Yeah, didn't they lose in their bowl game too?
Yep.
To once
USC.
again, who was another one? A USC team. So it's like those are your top 6 players in the SEC. 3 of them made it, 3 of them didn't. And if you don't remember, Texas lost in the quarterfinals to a Big Ten team. Tennessee got absolutely boat raced. Now, it was at Ohio State, but they got boat raced by a Big Ten team. Georgia got beat by, Notre Dame's not a Big Ten team, but they are a Northern Conference. They're Northern, is what I'm getting at. Nobody claims them. I'm not going to claim them, but I am saying, for this conference, quote unquote, to be, I'm not saying that they're not a very good conference. What I'm getting at is they are not head and shoulders above anybody else. They're not
and I don't think. I think if you're going into the discussion and you're trying to prove that the Big Ten is vastly superior, then you're going to have data points that say that they're not. And if you go in and you're saying the SEC is vastly superior, you're going to have data points that say they're not. And I really hate that whole conversation because at the end of the day, as an Arkansas fan, Ohio State and Notre Dame playing in the national championship, I didn't pull for either one.
Yeah.
Georgia and Notre Dame, how does it help me if Georgia wins that game? Arkansas might get some more money. There's enough money. The SEC makes enough money. It doesn't help us because we went 6-6. It doesn't help us that Tennessee made it. It doesn't help us that Texas made it. It doesn't help us that Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, LSU. None of that helps us. The only thing that helps your personal team, and this is a little bit of a hotter take, is what your team does. Why does it matter what? I mean, I don't understand that. I never have, and it's not because there are SEC teams I cheer for in their bowl games. I was cheering for South Carolina in South Carolina, Illinois. I was not cheering for Alabama. And it's just a case-by-case thing. I don't understand why people hitch their flag to a bandwagon of a conference. As an Arkansas fan specifically, there's constant discourse on how the SEC screws you. You constantly get crappy schedules. I don't know why we scheduled Notre Dame. I don't know why we scheduled to go to Memphis. That doesn't make any sense because we are constantly getting screwed by our own conference schedule. I mean, one year we played, during the COVID season, right? I know this was 5 years ago now, but this is still fresh on my mind. The SEC went from 8 conference games to 12 or 10 or whatever. It was 10. We played 10 that year. Everyone played, whatever. Instead of giving us something that made sense, like let's play Vanderbilt or Kentucky or South Carolina. You know who the SEC gave us as our extra 2? Georgia.
Who's that?
Georgia, who played in the national championship the year before, and Florida, who was a thrown shoe away from making the playoff. Those were 2 teams that started out in the top 10. Why are we hitching our flag to a conference that is constantly stomping on us? Why does that make any sense? Also, we had to go to A&M that year, and A&M has not been to Fayetteville since 2012, and we had to go to A&M that year. Why? And I'm sure you could find a case-by-case thing where the SEC doesn't like your team. I'm sure every fan in the SEC could. Why are you cheering for them? Our biggest rivals are in that conference. The teams we recruit against are in that conference. It hurts us more for other teams to have this much more success than us. Because then recruits, they don't want to go play for a 6-6 team whenever Ole Miss is right across the river and they just won 10 games. Why are you cheering for Ole Miss? What sense does that make?
Yeah, and I think that's and what I said earlier, I wasn't trying to compare conferences. Obviously, I don't mind doing it. I feel like ever since NIL kind of came about, it's in the data points that the Big Ten has been a better conference In the last 2 years, there hasn't been an SEC team even in the national championship. I'm saying that to kind of get back to this of like, I brought all this up for people to understand that like you gotta stop. I don't know how else to put it. You gotta stop meat riding your conference. Like your conference, like Mason said, like gets you nothing. Like I hate, and I guess it boil. I don't know. I've never lived in another state. I kind of said that earlier, but like I don't know if other states do it. I don't know if Kentucky does it. Kentucky fans, Mississippi State fans, I don't know if they do it, but it seems like as soon as Arkansas starts having, like last year they had a 6-6 record. As soon as they get to that point where it seems like their season's over, it's like, hey man, I know our team ain't good, but them Alabama boys, I think they're gonna win it all. I think they're good. That Nick Saban guy's got them right out there. It's like there's one thing of like watching the games and being happy, but it seems like there's a lot of SEC fans that they don't plant their flag on my team is good, my team is getting better. It's they plant their flag on we're the best conference. We should have an extra, conference league in the NFL because we're layered. It's the hardest conference ever made, and it's like, for one, that's not necessarily true all the time. And for two, like Mason said, what does that get you? Where does that get you in life for you to say, I have the hardest conference? Okay, great. Sometimes you're lying when you say that. I get what you're saying, Mason, about how the top 10 hardest schedules or the SEC teams, that's all fine. But who's coming out with schedule rankings? Most of the time it's the ESPN network, which guess who ESPN sponsors and pays most of ESPN's bill? That would be the SEC conference. I'm not saying that the Big Ten is light years ahead of the SEC. All I'm getting at is I think they're a lot more equal than people like to view them as, and I think there's too many people, especially around here because we live in the South, that think that the SEC is the greatest thing since mankind, and they're on the equivalent of George Washington and freaking Bill Nye the Science Guy. Like, it's just like, slow your roll, root for your team. If you want to silently root for SEC teams to win, great, but don't go out and put another A on or start cheering for the Bulldogs just because your team's dead in the water at home, going to play in the daggum Liberty Bowl every year.
But I will say, as far as like competitive top to bottom, the SEC is a step ahead. But at the very top, the Big Ten has been better. Whether people want to argue about that or not, and this is just the last 2 years. Oregon's been better than Texas. Like last year, Oregon was a better team than Texas. They didn't get to play, but Texas beat Michigan, but Michigan wasn't good. Ohio State was better than Texas. Georgia couldn't beat Notre Dame, and I know that they were without Carson Beck, but Carson Beck wasn't electric last year. And part of that is the fall off of Alabama because Nick Saban retired. But if you're gonna argue about the Big Ten and the SEC, I have no interest in arguing about Kentucky and Rutgers.
Yeah.
A team that's going to win 2 games is going to win 2 games regardless. And who cares what kind of schedule they played at that point? What I think where there is more competitiveness in the SEC is from that 3 to 9, 10.
Yeah.
Is a lot more competitive than in the Big Ten. But at the end of the day, I think we should just enjoy football. Like
that's kind of where I'm getting at too.
I'm not gonna watch Iowa and Minnesota probably. I'm not. I would rather.
No, I don't. I'm gonna go watch LSU versus South Carolina,
or
Texas Tech versus Colorado, or Louisville versus NC State because that's like the better game at that point. And I'm going to let you go ahead, but I think that's what me and you are kind of getting at. We don't want it to sound like we're comparing conferences to conference. I know I kind of did that a little bit, but there's more to open up people's eyes of like, don't just like act like the SEC is the greatest thing ever and you can't watch anything else. Like if there's a good ball game on, go watch it. Go enjoy it. Go see what's going on.
Well, and more importantly, football is fun regardless. You know,
Yeah.
so like I don't understand the mindset. I guess I'm not lecturing anyone. I'm just the mindset of like I'm gonna cheer for my rivals. I'm not gonna do that. Like I would much rather see Penn State win 10 national championships in a row than Alabama or LSU or Georgia or Ole Miss win one. Like I would rather anyone except the teams I'm directly competing with year in and year out win a single thing. Like I don't get that. I mean, and it might just be me letting their fans and their hoorah get to me a little bit as an Arkansas fan. But I just don't understand that. Before we leave out of this episode, we're running about 40 minutes. Let's talk about Diego Pavia real quick. He went
Oh,
on
thank God, Mason.
he
Oh
went
my
on Dustin with
gosh,
the
bro.
boys and said Vanderbilt was going to win the national championship and Vanderbilt's going to go to Bryant Denny and beat Alabama. And he was talking about pissing on New Mexico's logo, and he was just acting like I don't know. I think Diego Pavia is a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. Like I enjoyed watching him last year in the games that I did watch. By no means is Vanderbilt winning a national championship. By no means are they going to Bryant Denny and winning that game. I mean, I didn't think that they would win that game last year, but I don't see. What do you think about the comments? Like, what does that do? What does that say? Like, what does that paint? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I, man, if you want me to, how do I want to say this? Hang on, because I like literally 20 minutes before we went live, I was seeing all his videos. You know, he's been doing a bunch of podcasts. I think he has his own podcast too, or I don't really know what he's got. So let me breathe for a second. Let me calm down. I know this is a family show, and this will be the
Family
only
is.
cuss word.
This is
Will
an
be
adult. This is an adult show that your kids can listen to.
yeah, and I'm plug your ears. He's a dumbass.
Yeah.
Like okay, really, if you really think about it, I'm trying to go back to last season's schedule. So here's last
You're gonna
season's
see a
schedule.
really big. You're gonna see a really funny loss on there.
Yeah, so they played Virginia Tech, they beat them. They played Alcorn State, they beat them. They played Missouri, they lost to Missouri. They beat Alabama, so that's one good win. They beat Kentucky, decent win. Beat Ball State, lost to Texas by 3 points. That's great.
There's
Beat
a real important
Auburn.
one you're missing.
Yeah, I know. I'm missing one. I'm waiting. Because I want people to be like, "Oh, they're having an okay season." They played Tennessee, not really close. They lost to South Carolina by 21 points. They barely beat Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech is a lot better than what people give them credit for. But speaking of Georgia Tech, September 14th, 2024, they lost to Georgia State, which, if nobody knows who that is, they don't even have an emblem on their school right now. Let me see if I can pull up box scores. Oh, yeah, here we go. Pavia went 18 for 33, 54 completion percentage with 2 touchdowns. That's not good, people. It's not good at all.
He's playing at FCS school essentially.
Exactly. Did he play decent? Yes. The best way I can compare him to is he's a Temu, Wish, Facebook,
Walmart clearance aisle.
Yeah, whatever little bootleg fabricated website you order your Louis Vuitton from, he's that version of Johnny Manziel. That's the best way I can explain it. And it really pisses me off that he's out here and he's talking like he's like the next coming of a 5'4" Cam Ward when he's not that good. And they didn't do anything last year, but Alabama, that's the only team that they really beat that they shouldn't have beat. And I think it was a lucky thing. You don't hear not Akron, dadgummit, who beat Michigan in 2007?
Appalachian State.
You don't hear the quarterback from Appalachian State coming out in 2008 talking about how they're going to beat everybody else's ass because they beat Michigan one time. Like, I really don't like getting this worked up, but like for the last 3 days, all I've seen is Pavia going on podcasts and world tours like he won the daggum national championship, like he's Will Howard or Jeremiah Smith. That's all I got to say.
I just think it paints an unnecessary target on your back.
Exactly.
Like at the end of the day, I understand you're not going to go on there and be like, oh, well, we're Vanderbilt, and, we're really not expected to do anything, so I think we're going to lose a lot. Like, obviously you're not going to do that. You are going out there and you are actively antagonizing your opponents, and reality is, you're Vanderbilt. You took the goalpost to the Cumberland when you beat Alabama. It's not like you were Georgia. It's not like you were LSU even, or I don't even know. Like, you're not Missouri. You're
not even Arkansas.
You're Vanderbilt. Like,
yeah.
and you're out here painting this picture like you're the drag. You are the second best team in the SEC in your state. Like, you're not. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, it was like, oh, okay, it's funny at first. And then I was like, dude, you are making this unnecessarily harder on yourself. Like, you think these DNs, you think Dylan Stewart's going to be like, he's going to want to kill you. Alabama's going to have some freaky DN. He's going to want to kill you. Like, I just don't see this boding well. And I like Vanderbilt. They're going to improve. You're not going to improve from 6-6 to a national championship. You're not.
He's an idiot.
He's an idiot. And I like it. I do like it.
And what sucks for me is, like, I liked him last year. Yeah. I thought he had that perfect amount of swagger, and he had that perfect amount of, like, oh, dude, he's cool. He's an underdog, but he's kind of talking that crap. You know what I mean? And now it's like, okay, dude, settle down. It's like, I'm sure you went to school with, people, and they had younger brothers or little cousins, and their older cousin or their older brother would, like, get into a fight or, like, go crazy on the football field or have a bunch of points in basketball. And it's like, you hear that little cousin or little brother talking a little bit, and you're like, yeah, dude, you're right. He did do that. And then he's still talking about that crap 2 weeks later or a month later, and it's like, dude, shut up. We don't care anymore. Like, that's what he reminds me of. And their schedule, I'm not saying it's hard, but it ain't easy. They got
to go to Lane Stadium to start off the year and play Virginia Tech. Who's going to improve?
Yes, at night. So listen to this. Now, people don't know exactly when these games are. So they play versus Charleston Southern. Don't know who that is. That's a home game. Then tell me what 2 stadiums you would hate to play in more at night. I can't name any. LSU's overrated at night. I'll say it. I don't care. They go to Virginia Tech at night. Week 2. Week 3, they go to South Carolina at night.
Well, that's 0-2. I'll just say it now. Well, okay. Okay, you know what? I know so much about this because I gamble. And I put money on Virginia Tech to win, right, last year. Vanderbilt beats them, right? 2 weeks later, it was like weird odds. So I put money on Vanderbilt to beat Georgia State or whatever, Georgia Southern, whatever it was. And then they lost, So I'm not going to say that they're just going to lose to Virginia Tech because I did that last year and I was wrong. But I expect Virginia Tech to win that game. I expect South Carolina to beat the brakes off of them.
Hey, Mason, you know what's going to piss you off?
What's that?
So I'm looking at their schedule. They don't have a morning game until week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Until week 5.
Vanderbilt doesn't?
Yeah, that's what the projections are. So they play. Are they playing on
Thursdays or something? Like,
I don't know. They play Charleston Southern August 30th. I don't know that date, but August 30th at 6 o'clock. Then they play Virginia Tech at 6:30 on ACC Network, and then they play South Carolina at 6 or 6:45 on ESPN or SEC Network. and then they play Georgia State, which, hey, watch out. They might
Watch
get their
out.
butt kicked again.
Watch out for the Panthers.
Exactly. They play them at 6:30, and then finally they play Utah State at 11:45.
Well, maybe I just need Taylor Green to go on a bunch of podcasts and claim he's Jesus Christ.
And
they're going to win.
here's the next thing: they play Alabama. It's a flex game, so they don't know when it is. It's either going to be at 2:30.
Yeah, 3:30 or 6:30.
3:30 or 6:30. I pray. Since he's talking all this mess, I want Nick Saban,
please.
I want Nick Saban to dial up the phone and be like, I don't ask favors, but I need this one. I need this one to be granted. I want them to play them at night, and I want him to get creamed. And then after that, they play LSU, then Missouri, Cakewalk, Missouri. Then they play Texas, and then they play Auburn at Auburn, which I don't think that's going to be an easy game. And then they play Kentucky, and then they play Tennessee at the end of the season.
Auburn's going to beat them. Jordan Hare, yeah, Auburn's not losing that game. I think Auburn's going to win a lot of games. I don't think Vanderbilt stands a chance, a snowball's chance in hell in that game. So, the over-under on them is like 4 wins for the season. Can you find me 5?
Utah State, Georgia State, Charleston Southern.
They're not going to go winless in the SEC. Do they play Kentucky?
Yeah, but I don't.
I'm going to give them that one.
It is their senior night, so yeah, give them Kentucky.
And he says they're beating Tennessee and Alabama. That's 6 wins right there. I don't know, man. Normally, one of my favorite over-unders on the entire season is like Vanderbilt at 2.5 because they'll wind up winning 3 games. I don't know, man.
Because I don't see them beating Virginia Tech.
I don't either.
I don't see them beating. I don't see them beating.
Okay, here's a better over-under. How many weeks until Pavia has a public meltdown? Let's set it like 4.5.
Maybe, or he might hold it together, and then he's going into Tuscaloosa at night, and they're gonna cart him off of the field.
I don't know. I like the swagger. I like the confidence. I just don't like painting a target on your back as Vanderbilt. You know.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I think it would be different if he was like out of Texas or like who's a team that's kind of coming on pretty hot and heavy, like an Illinois.
Or if he was at Louisville. Like if Lamar Jackson was talking that crap. You know,
but Lamar Jackson's Lamar Jackson.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, because Pavia was good. Like let's not discount. He was
good.
But
come on, bro. He was like a light-skinned Mexican midget version of Lamar Jackson. You can't compare him to Lamar.
I'm just saying, like, okay, if a guy was at Ohio State and he was talking crap like that, like last year, Quinshon Judkins is talking that cash money crap. Everyone's going to be like, I hate Quinshon Judkins. They're going to view him as Darth Vader, you know? But, like, if Lamar Jackson at Louisville, who's not traditional, if he was talking it, you'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
But Vanderbilt? Come on, bro.
I feel like a good comparison would be like a Cam Ward. Like, Cam Ward wasn't talking crap, but he was very confident and cocky in himself. So, like, I feel like that would be equivalent, but, like, it's like one of those things, like I said earlier, like, hey, little cousin, pipe down. You're not on this level yet. You're never going to be on this level.
But that's all I got, guys. Again, like, subscribe, follow, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. TikTok, it's a 3, the number 3, Deep South, because every time you try to look up 3 with the letters, it tells you to stop gagging yourself. So if you would, just give us a like and a follow on all of our social media platforms. Tell your friends, tell your family about us. We're still kind of brainstorming some future things. I'm playing around with some editing, trying to figure out how to make pictures and stuff. Maybe we can prop up some pictures for y'all. But I have no idea how to do that. So we're just figuring that out as we go. Thank y'all for listening. Justin, you got anything else before we...
I mean, man, you pretty much nailed it on the head, really. I mean, we just appreciate all of you. At the end of the day, we don't care. I mean, obviously, we want thousands of people to subscribe and, be on Barstool one day maybe. But right now, like, me and Mason I mean, actually, I'll kind of give you a little insight into what we talk about. Me and Mason know college football inside and out. I would put me and Mason against almost anybody in the nation on just college football knowledge.
We just
So
don't
me
have
and
the
Mason,
time.
yeah, me and Mason are talking today, and we're kind of throughout the week. We're like, hey, there's not really any news that's dropped. Like, we don't know what's going on. Like, what do we want to talk about? Like, do we want to do a top 10 yet? Like, when I mean that, I mean like position wise, like quarterback, running back, whatever. We want to do a top 10 yet, or do we want to save it? Like, what do we want to talk about? And we're kind of talking, and then we start getting into the discussion that we had today over the phone, and me and Mason catch ourselves really heated about what we're talking about. And about 30 minutes into the conversation, I'm like, hey, Mason, I think we found out what we're talking about today. Like, let's just talk about this. And he's like, hey, yeah, you're right. What I'm getting at is like, we're going to be on here every week. We record on Thursday or Fridays. We usually try to have them posted Saturdays or Sundays. We're going to be on here. So put us on if you like us. Give us some feedback, give us some tips, anything that you think of. I mean, I'm not going to get mad about anything, but we don't care if there's 10,000 people watching or one person watching. We're going to be ourselves. We're going to tell you what we think, and we're just going to keep it 100% honest with you.
One more thing before we go. Please turn on the bell notification for our
Yes.
post notifications on Twitter. I think you can do it on TikTok, but more importantly, YouTube, because we're going to start going live. We went live tonight. I don't know how that went exactly. I'm going to check that out afterwards. But after we figure all that out, you can just join us live, ask us questions live, crap on us live, agree with us live, whatever you want to do. But you can do it with us as we go. And maybe it'll help us come up with some more stuff. You can kind of get your insight. You can feel like you're a part of this thing.
And
But
make
anyways,
sure
guys,
make sure you like it. I mean, we have, our viewers are dying down right now. I think it's because of just everything that's going on with, I'm not getting into it, but politics and baseball and all these things. But like, we see 100 viewers or 50 viewers or 30 or however many. Just reach down there. There's a little thumbs up button. All you got to do is click it. You don't have to take a survey. You don't have to talk to an Indian guy on the phone. You don't have to do any of those things. All we're asking for is a little like, and what that does, it doesn't give us any money, doesn't give us anything. All it does is it puts that video out to other people that like the same type of stuff. It boosts us up.
But we appreciate it, guys. This was
For
3
sure.
Deep South. We'll see y'all next week. I'll post something maybe about the topic if y'all want to ask questions. We appreciate it a lot, guys. Bye.